Welcome to the Great Debate.
Is everything working? Yes, yes, and yes, it all appears to be good. Wow, that was a quick setup and preparation for the show. It has been a long few days, and I apologize for yesterday's premierance not premiering, I guess would be the right way to say this. And I also have to comment, I am exhausted this morning. I don't know exactly how many hours of sleep I got. I know it wasn't enough. So, I will say hello and welcome to anybody and everybody willing to join me on this, depending on where you are in the country. Wonderful morning. I think it's morning. Where am I going with this today? I haven't been home for a couple of days, so my access to rapidly fire some invites out and chat and tweet with people is severely diminished. And a few premier guests I was hoping to have here. Let me move up so I don't have to feel like I'm talking so loud. A few premier guests I was hoping to have sort of fallen through. Other things have come up anyway, so it wasn't horrible that the show didn't go on, because as I was letting them know, if they even caught it, they were going live, so that wouldn't have worked out anyways. Meanwhile, are you in that storm that is hitting? It is cold and icy here, says Dark Sasuke. And I can only assume that that means, and I don't think I've asked you, maybe I have and I'm just that tired. Do you live in the Northeast? Very good question to have. Wow, that was only a couple of second lag there. I have a message from Timmy. Timmy would like to come on the show. Timmy, are you watching? Say hello in the chat. Had Timmy on before. I can do that. Let me get... It's a good thing. I do this a lot. Why did that do that? Good. Good. It's good. It's good. Why did I just do that? Oh man, I'm dumb. I just set myself the links that I already set myself to move to computer. I apologize for this minor technical delay. AY. A. Kentucky. How's the fried chicken? This is probably going to be one of my dumbest streams, and I'm really sorry for that. Not cooperating. You must cooperate, says I. And then I'm grabbing the wrong mouse, and my eyelids are closing on me without permission. Alright, I sent Timmy the link. Would anybody else like a chance to hop on the show? Welcome. How are we doing? Sex it is. 666. A reason the divorce rate is up is exposure to new techniques and more that your partner won't try. So, yeah, this is a fun one. after the show the other day, I was trying to come up with one to set up for yesterday's show. And I'm just sitting here like, what did we talk about? And then trying to run through in my head, how can I formulate the next question from that without being directly based on that? And as I've mentioned before, I am married. Not that this would lead to divorce, but I try to think of things outside the box of where I am. And they say that, a certain decently high percentage of marriages lead to divorces. And you gotta wonder why sometimes. Let's look in the chat. So, have I explained that I have a chat bar for me to read on a big screen? There's a chat bar that you guys see that I'm broadcasting on the side on the prompter there. And then I have a chat on another computer that's monitoring the strength of the stream. And for some reason, the chat that you guys are sending is coming through on my OBS through Streamlabs quicker than it's coming through from YouTube, which is really, really weird. So I can almost see it on one screen, but not quite, and then it pops up on the other. So I'll have to figure that part out. Boy sex? No, that's why we have prostitutes. Yeah, but if your wife catches you with a prostitute, would that lead to divorce? Sure, why not? By the way, is the link on Discord. I admittedly have not posted the link everywhere this morning. This just went out to the people who know I try my hardest to broadcast at the regular times, but I have to let you know I am exhausted. Don't tell her. The point is not to tell her, but what if she finds out? You have to wonder though. I was reading a report that was a statistical review of the MTF, FTM gender transitioning worldwide in different regions of the country during different time brackets, during legislations in the area of that country having to do with it. And the cumulative review of the study noted that while they couldn't be 100% sure because of the lack of numbers of willing participants and the honesty amongst the participants, that from the statistics that were gathered and reviewed, men were 3 times more likely to transition to women than women were to men. So, would that cause a divorce? And then you have to look at this new, I'm sorry, I'm talking slow. I'm trying to develop my sentences as I go. This new LGBTQ stuff. And on the off chance that, I think we discussed this before, that somebody would want to try something. Maybe their partner wouldn't be into it. And them getting caught trying it or going out and doing it, or even the discussion, would turn their partner off and lead to, an inevitable divorce. Again, my conjecture. Lie. On a serial note, yes, it could be a reason. On a serial note. Serial lie. No. Serious note. Wow, I am really rambling today. I mean, wow, I'm out of it. Alright, so, I just wondered, and it's hard without people here to chat with about this live. I did throw the link to Timmy. If anybody else wants to come in, just DM me and I'll try to get a person or two on here. Oh, look, my time's up. Oh, I don't really have anything else open right now because I just plugged all my stuff back in from getting back really, really early this morning. So we're back at the board, and my audience is in charge. I think this might be how the show kind of runs unless we have volunteers to come in. It's not like if she says no to one thing, but if all she does is missionary, then it's over in a hurry. Yeah. And that's kind of where part of this question was going. It's there. Okay. That was the other computer, if you guys heard that. I don't even know why it did it, but I'll look at it in an hour. It's... You see a porno, and you look at your wife and go, hey, I saw something interesting watching porn. Why do you watch that stuff? Well, I was watching, and it looked fun, and I wanted to try it with you. No, we're only doing it like this because this is the way it's comfortable for me. Yeah, that gets boring. More boring than how I'm speaking this morning. I can speak in a perfectly obnoxiously annoying monotone, and we can continue the show like this. But I'm sure the rest of you wouldn't like me to do this because I'll put you all to sleep, and by the end of the show, I'm gonna bang my head off the desk. So remember, dry, itchy eyes, use clear eyes. Thank you. Let's see. Your ex watched with you. See, that's the fun thing. My wife, she'll say she's gonna watch with me, and I'll turn it on, and she'll start reading a book. Well, yeah, I know it gets old. Yeah, it does. I hope we're still talking about sex or people. People get old too. That's all right. Other reasons than sex that we broke. See? That's the fun ones. You gotta be too careful that they're not overly fun. Alright. I am going to look away from my screen. I'm gonna circle my mouse and click. I'm just gonna look over here and I don't hear. There we go. We got something. Creator tips. While it's easy to get started, one of the harder things is continuing with one structure and style. I do proof edit these before I click save, but for some reason I still miss little things. I'm gonna have to go over it before the show again. Look at me. I'm right here. I'm this little tiny guy with 108, I think, subscribers, and my watch page says I have 4 people here, and I really appreciate every last one of them. So, while it's easy to get started, and it cost me nothing to get started, and then I went out and stupidly bought an $80 mic so that I can sound this good. And that was just my own personal thing. This is a hobby, so I put a few bucks into it. Why not? However, I have to easily admit to I did not start out with the purpose ever of doing this show, which is why I'm, weary about it, but I'm pushing it hard to see how well it works because I think it's different than other things that are out there. Buy my crack rocks. Hi Foxy, how are you doing today? Welcome to the show. It's kind of a ramble tired morning because nobody wanted to join me. But if you hit me in the DMs, it might hurt. But I'm trying to pay attention. Unfortunately, if you hear the clicks, that's me checking to see if I missed any. Back to creator tips. I started by doing short, quick commentaries on other funny things and stuff that I saw. And then I stretched and did a couple of response videos to Lindsay and Dennis, and I've done quite a few no, about 20 maybe response videos, a couple of, review videos. I've kind of slowly changed my structure up to, okay, I'm picking on their idea, but because I'm using their video to pick on their idea, I'm inevitably picking on them and how they portray their idea, not just the idea. What I'd kind of like to do is get the idea out there for more people to hear, maybe with a different voice and no context behind it, because I don't necessarily support certain things, but I'm more than willing to bring them up and fight on their side of them long enough to see if I can find some validity to the argument that's in front of me. So my structure and style has changed from April of last year until now. Overall, as a creator, just for me to continue and try to grow. However, I will also say that my first show for the Great Debate, if anybody feels so inclined to go back and watch, I spent weeks putting together these overlays and laid them over top of each other and made them look like active buttons that I could play like a game in OBS. And it didn't go half bad, but the first show showed me what I needed to change, and then people gave me some, hey Nug, how we doing today? The new layout gave me some ideas to what to change. Then I got this game board and I started working with that, and once I started playing with it, it gave me some new ideas. And I've slowly been going through how I can look at things, and I've been starting to kind of cycle through different, more recent topics, trying to find stuff that isn't going to get people angry or yelling or screaming at each other. But let's say, talk about the idea and look at a couple of different angles of it, and whether or not we agree with different sides, be willing to discuss that side for the purpose of discussing the side. As some people know, I do not always write things in here that I agree with. The questions and statements aren't necessarily things that I agree with. But I'm more than happy to put in a side of the argument that I don't agree with in the best context I can to discuss it appropriately. And I hope some people appreciate that. Alright, let's look back at the chat now that I'm done rambling for a moment. I did say hi to you, didn't I, Foxy? Yes, I did, because she replied. Yeah, buy my weed crack. Weed crack? What? Do you grow weeds in your crack? I bet you that's more than possible. Just wipe a little better, they'll go away. I can try if you want. Don't know my connection and mic quality. It's up to you. I keep the Google Hangout running. If you send me a DM, I will control. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's why Tim couldn't get in, because I copied the link over from one tweet to another. Alright, back to Unwanted Reaper. Boo, Buzz, Nugs, I see you there. I do see you there. You're awesome to have there in the crowd. It's hard to start. Okay. It's hard to start a YouTube channel. Maybe just a little bit. I think the hardest part is, and this is where I struggled at the beginning, is you've got to find people that are kind of doing something along the lines of what you're doing, or have a little experience in something, or look like they're talented at it, and ask them for little tidbits. But hopefully they're not too busy, because I have reached out different times to ask how people do different things, because they might have a different style or method that I do, and I might be able to use different techniques they do to make my style better. So I have no problem reaching out. Also, at the same time, I encourage others to reach out. I made one tutorial video that I know I got a thumbs down on. I'm hoping that's just somebody who doesn't like me. I'd be happier with somebody not liking me than not liking the work. I tried to go through and explain it like I would need it explained to me as a numbskull. It's like, okay, I need this plain, simple, ready to understand. How do I use Voice Meter but still tap it into OBS and run it through my this and connect to that, and it is Voice Meter Banana gets awfully complicated. So I thought a really simple explanation of what to do right off the bat would have been perfect. Alright, let's look over here at the chat. Unwanted Reaper can't DM me in Twitter. Firefox and don't know the Twitter password. Can't DM me. I thumbs down everything. That's awesome, Nugs. Mwah. No, it's MWA. Yours is Mwahaha. Mine's Mwahaha. Sorry, I forgot to like that like. Lick that like. No, you've got to make this gentle, and I haven't come up with anything yet, but please make sure to rub your hand up there and just ever so gently caress that thumb button. Ooh, play with the thumb button. Make sure it's the one that goes up. Make that thumb up go blue. I hope you enjoyed that. I don't know if anybody's responding yet, but we'll move on. Down. If I follow, he need to follow back. I thought my Twitter was set to following you back. I don't know why I didn't. Probably because I was away from my computer for a few days. And I have to admit, at about half an hour after this show is done, I'm disconnecting my computer and rearranging a few things so that I have an easier ability to connect. And maybe, if all goes well, I will do a show at 2 o'clock today if I have everything put back together. Let's go to television, Tim says. And Nuggets is still playing with that thumb. Why do we still have channels broadcasting when we have on demand and DVR? I'm gonna have to reprogram the bot in there. I had it set up for the two bots in my room to talk to each other when I was learning how to use them. I'd make key phrases so they talk back and forth, and it somehow got put in where it says pokey anytime you type okay. So what's a good one? Somebody type in XD. Just XD, and enjoy the room. This should work just like my Discord server, so if you like a bot that comes up with snappy responses, I'm going to sit and add some more. I put a few in the other day, but I forget what ones. Come on, where is it? Where is it? Come on, what the heck? That was too child friendly. I've been around children in the last few days. Alright, I'm killing Nightbot. I'm killing it. Can I kill the bot? Kill the bot. I think you overloaded the bot. I know it works, and some of you should also know that it works. Why is it not working? There's no special command line or anything. It should just come up. What did I even just type into? I clicked one computer and typed on the other. I'm going to have to turn off all the safety restrictions and the time delays and the... See, now why does that work? Alright, so in my Discord, if you type in XD, the bot comes up and goes, does this mean we can do the thing? I wonder what else doesn't work in here. I have quite a few in there. Okay, hey, yeah, why do we still have channels? Wow, way off topic. Can you tell I'm exhausted? And I have a message from Unwanted Reaper. Paste this. See if that gives you a bad link. Need to figure out what I'm doing. I've got 2 mice and 2 computers and 3 screens and 6 people watching, and I love every last one of you. This is like this is probably the worst rambly show ever. I have on demand for every channel minus a couple, I think, on my cable, satellite. I don't have cable, I have satellite cable, whatever. But I also have a DVR that came free with it. So I can record all those shows and watch them anytime I want anyways. So why do I have 3 times the ability to do something? Like, I can watch it, record it, watch it later, and then I can look it up and watch it anytime I want. That's awesome. But wouldn't you think at some point take out some of the steps? I guess Netflix kind of took out a few steps because they don't premiere their shows as a show. I think they release the entire season as a season now, so you can Netflix and binge. Whereas television still releases a lot of shows, one show every Friday or Thursday or whatever the best premiere day is, and then it gets moved to like Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon after that season's done and they want to repeat it for views. Spartacus, but again, we don't need channels, so we also have Netflix and Hulu. And a buddy of mine told me to look into a method of getting an Amazon stick. I'm going to get an Amazon stick and look. I don't mind checking things out. I have an unwanted Reaper, and he is definitely a wanted unwanted Reaper. I have an unwanted Reaper, and he is definitely a wanted Reaper.
Yeah, so you hear me?
I hear you. Do you have headphones on?
Yeah, I just turned on my TV. I'm gonna get my headphones.
Ah. It's always weird when I hear myself back.
Okay, you still hear me?
I still hear you. You're coming through loud and clear. How are we doing today?
Okay, you still hear me?
I still hear you. You're coming through loud and clear. How are we doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I am exhaustedly tired. I've been
Do we still have
busting my
feedback?
butt. I'm good, man. How are you? Yeah, I still got a hair bit. Is that me or you? Yeah, I still got a hair bit. Is that me or you?
I think it's me because it's also crappy right now because I'm on my phone.
I tell you what, you know what? I don't think the audience minds because there's not enough to give you any crap. And if they do, well, you know what? There's this bunch of emojis you guys can play with. Okay? Unwanted Reaper is more than welcome to jump on the show, bad audio or not, just because I'm tired and I could use somebody to talk to keep me awake to finish this out. And why not have Unwanted Reaper here? Would you like to pick the next category? And why not have Unwanted Reaper here? Would you like to pick the next category?
Yeah, whatever, man. Controversy. That's a good thing for me.
Could it be argued that if you have ever done anything on the internet, you doxed yourself? Could it be argued that if you've ever done anything on the internet, you doxed yourself?
I know I did, but it kind of depends. You can like block your location, everything.
Absolutely. And when I think about this, I tend to think back
So
to
yeah,
when
you can private on the internet.
right, once you first sign in, the first thing you do is like 15 or 16 is fill out an application and you put your name in it because you're just filling out your email address and you don't think anything of it.
Yeah, that's what I did on my first account.
Right, and then
It was my last full name, so
nobody look him up. He's a good guy. He's all right. Um, I did that a lot, and then I learned to start creating accounts to have different names. So if you want to look up my email account, feel free to email the account attached to this. It just goes to the NumbedSkull. But again, no matter how hard I try, there's still ways that if people really, really, really wanted to find me right now, they probably could. And I'm still, working on sealing those cracks.
yeah. Well, personally, unless you really piss me off in a really good way, I couldn't care less who you are. I wouldn't be interested in knowing that.
um,
And in a
yes,
good way, I
but
mean you come after me or my family.
right. Some people are just, I wouldn't say necessarily vindictive like that, but that happens. You get some people that are just like, oh, you know what? I'm going to try this and this. Hey, check it out. I found this person's name. Cool. I'm going to throw this in the have done over here on this, um, what is it? IRL or something, chat rooms, IRCs. And that stuff that's how doxing gets started. And then you get, why can't I think? Kiwi Farms.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been on there, but they're popular for doxing people.
Like literally, I'm the last person that will be interested in knowing who you are just to come and get you.
Oh yeah. If you want to meet me and I want to meet you, then there's bound to be a way to do that, but it's not right to look up somebody's information to go after them or to want to do that. So, and I've sat and I hate to monopolize this conversation. I've sat and tried to look at this as everybody keeps doing streams about, but you doxed or you released this or you did that. So if you want to look at it, you're on the internet. So whatever you did or whatever information you put there, you made readily available. So you contributed to the release of your information. However, by somebody taking your information and making it easier to acquire and or reposting it without your permission, they are then doxing you. They are by then posting documents about you. Now, that part isn't necessarily wrong. And that's where I think it gets kind of confusing. If something happens nearby and a news organization happens to catch your house and you walking out of it as the house next door is on fire and somebody knows you and sees that that's your address, that would then be doxing. And they readily post that as news footage. So would somebody finding information about something and then reposting it in a different place be considered anything different? So where does the line of doxing come in? Did I lose you? I'm gonna hit the chat up. Just listening, just driving. We'll chat when I'm done. Awesome. Just drive away. Be careful. Yes, a case could be made for a self-dox. However, the question of a false flag comes up. Well, it's a matter of how far you go for the information. There's a good way to piss somebody off. Well, I mean, it's like the real information or fake. Okay. I have gone through very, very, very serious effort, continuing and lasting effort to keep the NumbedSkull separate from the IRL. And I go so far as separate devices in most cases. However, I still kind of let them bleed through, and I have to pay very close attention to what I'm doing. I continuously go through and double check everything I do to make sure that anything that was done is cleared or erased so that it doesn't come back at me. I'm continuously searching and checking all of the websites to make sure that anything I have doesn't come up with anything that the NumbedSkull has. I have separate emails, I have separate servers, I have separate devices. I've done everything I can think of except for a few short things that I'm not going to get into right now. And those will be done here shortly. So I will protect myself and keep it separate, and that gives me the ability that at any given time I can just, and this isn't mean to my audience, if something comes up or anything were to happen, I can literally just flip a switch and the NumbedSkull never existed. So as of right now though, I'm spidering out just to make sure if I ever use a platform, my name is saved on that platform. I think I may have lost Unwanted Reaper. He's here and I can't hear him. I don't know if he's talking and it's not coming through. Nope, my audio is good. I haven't changed anything. So I think he's just having some audio problems. And that's alright. I just want to say I appreciate him trying to come in here. It was fun saying hello to him. Let's see. Tim Gersh. Like a kid I went to school with, let's say he is online, I doxed him. Well, then I know it's real. If you NumbedSkull, then I don't know. Do not know. NumbedSkull could really be Tim Gersh. I could be anybody. Yep, a bad day all the way around. I just lost Unwanted Reaper. I know you guys heard that. So I guess in terms of doxing, let's say I will try and lay my firm claim on doxing would be the attempt to purposefully give easier access to a person's personal information that was unwittingly revealed. So if you go out of your way to link a person's personal account with their broadcast account that they intentionally go to keep separate, and you make the access easier, that to me is doxing them. If I were to come out right now and tell you what my first and last name were, full name, no delay, and you went and found my accounts and linked them, that's not your fault. That's mine. Because I did not take the care that I should have. And I got him back. Because I did not take the care that I should have. I got him back.
Yeah.
I will let you pick the next one. We'll try to make this work for another topic or so, and then the show. Well, we're halfway through. Am I missing anything? Nope. All right. There you go. All right. There you go.
Okay, you hear me now?
I can hear you. I assume you're following along from the watch page, so I'm just giving pause in between so you can catch up. Good thing my watch page is only a couple seconds behind. Pause in between so you can catch up. Good thing my watch page is only a couple seconds behind.
Yeah. Okay, well, good thing you hear me in any case. Yeah, I can hear the delay here too, yeah.
So, go ahead and pick yourself a topic and we'll chat about that next and see how your audio does. Go ahead and pick yourself a topic and we'll chat about that next and see how your audio does.
I'll take the video games.
Video games. Instead of redesigning the old systems, they should have re-released the original systems again.
Well, I love the classics, but the redesigns are nice.
Now, I haven't played on the new redesigned systems, but from what I'm told, the controller ports and everything on them are different than the old systems.
I own a Switch, basically. That's the only thing I play on at the moment. And it's got a lot of ports. I just love the Marios and stuff. Even the new Zelda, it's totally new, but still a mention.
Oh, I'm speaking of, I don't know if you've heard of them. The Nintendo and Sega and a few of the older systems have re-released the systems that have like 100 games pre-programmed into them. And it's a re-release of the old games instead of re-releasing some of the old systems and components for people that were nostalgic. They tried to recreate it with all new components.
Yeah, exactly. For the generation just before me, sort of say, they had a real appeal to the micro machines. For me and the generation after me, I think they would rather see the old classics released on the new consoles.
Yeah, we're always happy to see the old games re-released on the new consoles. But what I'm saying is when they released the old systems again with the new, so they took the old Super Nintendo and Nintendo games and released a new Nintendo system that was basically the old Nintendo system but made smaller and pre-programmed the games into it instead of bringing out the system again, making a few changes but making it so all the old components would work for the nostalgic people.
Yeah, I know what you mean. When that's what I'm saying. Like the generation before me, they like the little machines because it looks like the old one, of course, but tiny. And maybe there's a way to put more games on them later. I don't know, really.
I would
But for me,
agree.
they don't appeal because I can just download an emulator, something, and still play my classics the way I want them.
Um, for a person like me, and I'm kind of a video game collector of sorts. I have the original 16-bit Sega Genesis. I have the re-released edition of the 32-bit Genesis. I have two of them. One's on the release, they did a co-release with the Sega CD. And I can pop in cartridges and games for everything. So if they re-release some older games that I could repurchase or that I didn't have, or if they came out with a new cartridge that fit the old system but had different types of games on there, that would be appealing to me and I would spend money on that. I would buy new controllers if they matched the old ones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But with the release of the new systems, what they did was they changed all the controllers and they changed the system so nothing matches up with the old
Uh,
systems and you have to
I'm
start all over.
collecting these old ones because I miss my Super NES and NES. So
I have a Super NES.
but yeah, the things, it might be more appealing the way you say. Yeah, of course, the tiny little things only have a limited nostalgic value.
Right. How many people in here have played Duck Hunt on the old Nintendo or Super? I think it was Super Nintendo when Duck Hunt came out. How many people have played with the gun?
Huh, I learned to shoot in that game.
Right? I have one of the guns and the Nintendo, and I have Duck Hunt, and it all works. I would love a second gun, but I can't find them very easily where they work and they're not, out of my way.
Yeah, it's a bitch. I know. I want them to, and I try to look for them. It's near impossible to get them.
Um, One system that I will bring up that I thought was kind of cool of Nintendo to try and do is when they did the Wii, they made the Wii completely transferable from the GameCube. So you could bring your cartridges over with your memory on it, you could bring your controllers over, or you could buy the new wireless controllers. They tried to make it so you could bring over some of the stuff that you had. I didn't much care for the Wii. It was kind of cool, but it wasn't great. I liked the Cube better. The gun was called the Zapper. I'm gonna have to remember that.
Oh yeah, but read the chat because they're making a good point. They are talking about the NES and not the Super NES.
Which one's which? I have the one, I want to say it's the one with the little triangle disc cover on the top. It has 4 controller ports. It's white. Has a network cable.
The Super Nintendo had the more rounded controllers, and the cartridge goes in the top. And the NES had the cartridge that goes in the front with the flap.
Right. Now, I don't have them
You have
here.
these little square
I,
controllers.
I don't have them here at my house right now, and I don't have my show here set up to show anything. But I have the square Nintendo controllers. I have the round Super Nintendo controllers. I
I
have
grew
the
up with them, so I
funky.
can recall
Yeah,
them.
you can picture them all. I have the funky NES controllers. I have two N64 controllers for my N64. Uh, I've got the gun for the Nintendo, Super Nintendo. I've got my Atari. My Atari has a couple of old controllers and one still working joystick. The Atari and the Sega use the same controller port, so my Sega controllers work on the Atari, but the Atari controllers don't all work on the Sega. Um, what else did I have? I have like 13 systems stacked up in boxes right now that I have to figure out what I'm doing with.
Yeah, you also had the big bazooka on the Super Nintendo, right?
I don't have the bazooka. I just had the little zapper. I just had Duck Hunt. I have like 6 games on my Nintendo. I have like 60 games on my Atari.
Well, my Nintendo, the first one, the Nintendo Entertainment System, we came out a family of 4, and it totally burned out. Like nothing worked anymore. It
Yeah.
was the first Nintendo and the last Nintendo ever I saw broke.
Do you remember? I think it was the Super Nintendo just before they came out with the Nintendo 64. They put out that paddle pad where you could add in extra controllers to play multiplayer on certain games.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like the Super Nintendo, funny story actually. They actually released a few games after the 64 came out. When they actually flopped, and we had a retail sailor here, and he actually sold that game for 3,000 euros for a collector.
Yeah. I I managed to live in an area of California where I already had an Atari, I already had the Sega, and I had some money in my pocket and went to a huge garage sale thing out in Sacramento. And I must have spent about $100, but I walked out of there with 6 more video game systems that I was looking for, a few more controllers on top of the ones that I already had. I found the pieces that go to the Sega CD drop pad that I was trying to put together. I'm still missing a couple of cords because they didn't have cords that I needed. But I've got a pretty thorough Sega collection, a decent Nintendo collection, and my Atari is it's all right. I want to say it's the first release Atari 2600, not the second release with the wood grain texture.
Yeah, okay. It's nice to have an Atari and Sega.
Oh,
Like, I
sometimes it's
try to
fun.
collect them. I still have a few things, as I said, but it just takes up so much space.
Yeah,
So I decided to go.
um in addition to the space, if you have a newer TV, you usually have to buy some sort of converter box.
Yeah, for the coax.
Yep. And then if you're like me and you have like 15 systems connected all at once, you've got to have a couple of video splitter boxes in there, channel splitter boxes, where you can swap out different sequence channels to run the systems all on one unit. You end up taking up an awful lot of space. If they'd have released the old systems, but more compact and able to do everything, and still able to accept the old cartridges, but maybe take an SD chip in addition to, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, like the chips on the Switch.
Yeah, that would have been the way to go when they released them. Is okay, there is this spot on the top, you can open it and put your cartridges in from the old system. The controller ports are going to be the old controllers, but we're going to offer Bluetooth or whatever for the new controllers. And then you've got this SD card. You can buy your games on SD or you can download them on the internet. They should have made it somewhat look like the old system and accept the old system, but just compacted it and made it more versatile and made it so it connected to the new TV.
Personally, I think that's $1 million idea, man.
Right? And they went the different direction, so $1 million lost. All right, let me hit this chat up. The N64 came out when I was in high school. After that, I was kind of busy for GameCube and Wii. N64, I'm always going to say this, as I'm not even a wrestling fan, but N64, I want to say, almost spawned the wrestling game era of, what was it? WCW versus NWO, WWE versus Raw.
Revenge and WrestleMania, awesome, yeah.
Yeah, N64 kind of spawned that whole era of multiplayer wrestling and throwing people around. The graphics weren't even great when they started, but boy, was it just fun to think 3 and 4 players in there throwing each other around, or Royal Rumbles where you just kept coming in as a different person.
It was also very, very slow compared to like SmackDown that came out later.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Never had an SNES. I had a Sega Genesis. Well, again, there was the Sega Genesis 16-bit, which had multiple buttons. It was wide and bulky. Then they came out with the 32-bit, which accepted all of the 16-bit cartridges and accepted the 32-bit cartridges, which didn't look any different. They just upgraded the abilities of the system. And then they did a marketing ploy when they released the Sega CD, they released that you can take the bottom of your 32-bit Genesis off and attach it to a special CD pad, which gave you virtual audio surround and a few other capabilities. And then you had the Sega Genesis and the Sega CD that mounted onto this flat pad, and then there was a 32x drop-on that was added later for higher output Genesis games. And those cartridges were a little bigger, so there was this cartridge adapter you had to pop into your Genesis and then add the cartridge on top. So if you put that cartridge in and had the right disc in the CD, they connected to each other. You could listen to music and play certain games if you connected it right. You hook it through your TV and your stereo, but there's so many wires to make it work. It was terrible, but I have it all. I have the 32-bit drop, I have the 16-bit and the 32-bit system, I have the X bundle, the CD, I have all of the pads, the connectors, I'm missing one power cord. X bundle, the CD, I have all of the pads, the connectors, I'm missing one power cord.
Ooh, that's a bitch. Which connector is it?
It's, you know, the bulky AC power converters, the
With
the AC to DC
the
power converters for this Genesises. They're all the same from the Genesis to the CD to the drop pad, the 16-bit, 32-bit. All of them use the same power cord. I have 3, I need 4. So I just end up swapping out one system at a time when I need to. I have 3, I need 4. So I just end up swapping out one at a time when I need to. Yeah, the 64 did have 4 ports, but like I said, the Super Nintendo, before they stopped making a whole lot for it, also had a paddle you could plug into the controller port that gave you the ability to add more ports. And I have one. I have proof.
Yeah, close to the end. They released it.
The weird thing about the 64 though was, do you remember the controllers were made so that you can hold them in 2 different places? Or you could hold them in a dozen different ways, but some games you could play with your hand on the middle of the controller with the C, was it the C stick? You just put your thumb on the C stick and drive.
Yeah, the 64 had 3 holding spots. If you played the wrestling a lot, you use it like a normal controller because you only use the analog for the specials. But in any other game, basically, you use the analog to steer.
Yeah, and it kind of developed into where they are now with the way our C stick is now. We talked about controller layouts before. I thought it was always interesting why they put that down there. If you were playing certain games, you'd always leave your left hand on the left side of the controller, but you could move your right hand from the side of the controller to the center of the controller and play differently in different games. Like Mario Kart Racing, when it came out, used the paddle on the left and then the C stick in the center, so you didn't really have to use buttons. You had to reach up and hit them if you did. On the left and then the C stick in the center, so you didn't really have to use buttons. You had to reach up and hit them if you did.
You could configure it.
Yeah, I never did that. I just played the games how they set them up, and then go to the next game because I didn't want to sit there and mess with the controller every time. Yeah, I never did that. Oh, where are we? We are at that mark. It has been so much fun just chatting, and I'm still awake, so it worked. That was a messed up controller. I hated it, says Daryl. Yeah, some games were D-pad and some were C-stick. Yes, that's true. Some games were D-pad and some were C-stick. Yes, that's true. Well, in closing, I'm going to say thank you so much for joining me and everything else you do for the show Unwanted Reaper. And the same goes for the audience. Thank you so much for showing up, hanging out, chatting. Hopefully I didn't miss anything important you guys were saying to me. Would you like to say anything and give your goodbyes? Would you like to say anything and give your goodbyes?
Yeah, man, it's been fun. We can do this anytime again, sort of say.
Absolutely, I love having people on here.
Yeah, I'd love to have some other people on too, of course.
I'm working on it. I'm trying to get some people actually wanted to listen to, and I've been AFK away from my keyboard since Thursday for the most part, trying to just make sure I do what I can to keep the show running, but trying to make sure I help out a friend. So he's all helped and done. Now I got to get back to finishing up what I'm working on for this show and see if I can't get some more sight and see if people like or hate it.
Yeah, man, I wish you the best of luck, and you got a supporter in me, you know that.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. So with that, I'm going to run the outro, and I will see you guys tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That'll be 8 p.m. Unwanted Reaper time. That's 7 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, and some other time zones out there with other numbers to go with them. I will see you guys all later. Thanks for showing up.